takes 7 seconds to make your first impression. It takes 20 more interactions to change that impression. So some of you have seen me sitting here while I've walked in, for some of you just seeing me now. You have made an opinion or judgment about me, conscious or unconscious, in the time that I've been standing here. So I want you to now think for 7 seconds, what are some of the things that you thought about me? What happens now? If I'd been standing there with my Chorus executive top on, and I'd been standing here while you walked in, what would you think about my brand? I'm no smarter, I'm no nicer, I'm no kinder, I'm no more insightful. In fact, I think I'm actually more insightful now because my feet are much more comfortable, right? I do my best thinking in my Ugg boots. But if I'd walked in like this, I think half of you would have walked out. And that's what we're here to talk about today. The impact of personal brand and the impact of, let's see if I can get my shoes on without falling over, of the impressions that you make. We all know that if I'd walked into a boardroom, if we walked into a meeting, if I'd walked in to pitch to you, dressed as I was, I wouldn't get the job, I wouldn't get the deal, I wouldn't get the agreement. Hopefully, walking in like this, I have some credibility. Why do I have the right to be here in front of you today? Because in my first part of my career I was a marketer, so I worked for places like Kraft, Foods and Simplot, and my job was to sell brands to people, so influence them so that they would build an emotional connection and buy. As my role as a recruiter, it's about selling organisations, so helping organisations attract and find amazing talent to join them. As a coach, my role is to work with individuals to help them sell themselves better to create the jobs that they want. So my whole world is around creating brands, creating emotional connections. And so I am just in heaven now, because between HR and marketing, I'm in my sweet spot because I'm creating brands for individuals. I'm going to be talking a lot about brand, and I want to differentiate between the difference between a personal brand and a leadership brand. So a personal brand is all about you as the individual, how you're selling yourself and positioning yourself to satisfy your personal needs. So whether that's getting your next job, getting your next promotion, getting your next board meeting, getting your next customer. It's about you. A leadership brand is how an organisation uses the brands and profiles of their leaders to attract opportunities. So great people, like you people here, you want to work for great leaders. So if the leaders of the organisation are on show and are inspiring and interesting, you as talented people will go there. Now, obviously there's a line, that crosses, because as a person you're a leader as well as being an individual, but it's just the bias. So is it more about me and what's in it for me, or is it more about us and what's in it for the organisation? Fine. Yeah, now my husband wants to buy me cubics going years only because I keep losing them, but I won't have that. Okay. So, and then we talk about online and offline. So in the past, offline brand was most important. So in days gone by, I'd stand in front of, a group of people and I'd talk, and if I mucked it up, it's 20 people see it, 40 people, maybe 100 people. Now, it's being videoed, there might be some photos, if I fell over, that could go viral. So all of a sudden, it's not just about offline, it is about online. And we need to recognise that, because a lot of us don't want to recognise that. We want to keep ourselves private and we don't want to share too much, but the reality is we are in a world where online is very, very important. When we talk about your brand, it is everything that you do and everything that you say online and offline. It's how you turn up. It's what you wear. It's how you communicate. If you turn up to a barbecue on a Sunday, and your words are, I cannot go to work tomorrow if I have to listen to that guy tell me one more time about his pet fish, I'm going to kill him, right? If you complain about your work, and you complain about, and that's the way you present yourself, whether that's be online or offline, it creates a perception of who you are. And be very careful when you do those things online. I'm connected to lots of different people, and I actually had an HR director on a Sunday night say something like, "I cannot go to work tomorrow, I can't bear it anymore." Right? Now, she is a friend of mine, but she's also an HR director of a business. So what does that mean for people wanting to go there? And me as a recruiter going, do I send people there? Right, so you've got to be really careful about what you say and what you do, as I said, online and offline. Your LinkedIn profile is like your personal TripAdvisor or Google reviews. There are a few people with grey hair here, right? And we, way back then, we used to go to a hotel or a restaurant or book a trip without having any idea about whether it was going to be good or bad, right? Do we remember that? Right? We just turn up and fingers crossed it would be all right. Today, you would not think about going to a hotel or booking a restaurant without looking at Google reviews, looking at TripAdvisor, looking at, Qantas reviews, because other people are telling us how good this experience is going to be. LinkedIn is that for you. The minute that you are going out, well, you should be, if you are meeting anybody or anyone's meeting you, they are looking at your profile. They want to see what you're doing, who you're connected to, what you stand for, and what value you can add to them. Right? So think about it as even if you don't want it, think about, would you ever go to a restaurant that didn't have a review? If the answer is no, then think about, why would anybody want you if you don't have something that's telling a story around you? And the final thing about your brand is, it doesn't really matter what level you're at. So my EA is a lady called Amy, and when she came to join us, we started to take a photo, when we talked to her about leadership, leadership branding, and she said, "Oh, I don't need to do that, I'm just the EA." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you're just the EA?" She said, "Oh, no one really cares what I think or what I say." And I totally disagree with that. So we coaxed her and we encouraged her, and the reality is that one day Amy is going to leave me, right? Either because for her own reasons, because she's outgrown us, or maybe we'll outgrow her. Or maybe things just change, right? She moves country or something like that. One day she's going to look for another job. And on that day that she looks for another job, somebody is going to look her up and they're going to see this amazing woman with a whole lot of insight and a whole lot of blogs and a whole lot of information about her. And when she stands up there and is interviewed versus the person that doesn't have a photo, has never made a comment, has got no recommendations, who do you think is going to get the job? Right? So it's not about, I'm just an EA. In fact, I don't actually like that word at all. Nobody's a just anything, right? You are great at what you do and you own that. So it's about, as I said, putting yourself out there and being really aware that at every point, so if you're going to take anything out of this, that at every point of interaction is your opportunity to either sell or repel, right? Your leadership brand, 75%, and I think those stats are wrong personally, I think it's much higher than that. 75% of top talent are looking at you when they're deciding whether or not to come for an interview here, right? So if you as representatives of the organisation are not showing your best in your first 7 seconds, then you are doing the organisation a disservice. Your brand is your opportunity to attract all those opportunities. And the more times that you're saying great things about the organisation and or yourself, the more people will want to come. Because people want to come where great things are happening. And I shouldn't be saying this, but I always say this, is if you do it right, you become the unofficial recruitment team for the organisation. Because through your networks, through their networks, people come and get inspired to come here. Now that puts people like me out of work, but that's life and you've got to move on and change. But again, you have a role to help this organisation attract the best. Well, so what are the stats? The average CEO has 930 connections. The average person has between 500 and 1,000. The use of video and interactive mediums is increasing. So 74% of people have better interactions if there's some sort of video on your profile, not just blog content. And people are more likely to remember information if they can see something visual around it. And there are 3 million LinkedIn users that are sharing content every day around the world, right? So you can choose to be, you don't have to share every day, but you can choose to be part of that and get your brand out there. I don't know what happened there. The impact is that, and we're all a little bit, we're much more discerning now, all of us, right? So people are going to take more credence from something that you guys post about the organisation that's authentic and from you, rather than head office or the company saying it. So, and from a leadership branding perspective, we always encourage all our clients that we work with to really empower employees to share as much as you can about the organisation and talk about the organisation to attract those opportunities and those people. So what are the components of a strong brand? First, it's your strong personal brand. First, it's your technical expertise. Like, you cannot have a good brand if you're actually not good at what you do, right? So you have to have the skill. Finally, it's doing what you say you're going to do, right? So being accountable. Trust is a big issue in this world, and it's a big issue between individuals. So if you can do what you say you're going to do, your brand is going to increase in people's eyes. No good being fantastic at doing something, but no one trusts you because you do it sometimes, you don't do it the other half of the time. It's how you do it. So are you easy to be with? Are you a team player, or are you difficult to be with? No one wants to work with a person that gets everything done but burns people along the way. It's authenticity. So we've all heard the jargon about authentic leadership, but it is about being human. We're all human. We all have great days. We all have bad days. We all make mistakes. So it's showing that. No longer is a time where managers are omnipresent and never make a mistake. Great leaders are the leaders that actually stand up and say, I have made a mistake, now what are we going to do about it? Right? Because we are all human. It's about being brave and telling stories and and having thought leadership. So when we talk about personal brand a lot, people are quite nervous to put their ideas online or even to share them in the public arena because they don't want to be knocked down or criticised. And what I'm going to say to that is, nobody wants beige. Nobody wants to have everybody agree with them, because if everybody agrees with what you say, then you're no different from anybody else. We're all unique and individuals, and it is about bringing our own uniqueness and our own different lens to every every situation that we're in. It's about showing yourself. So it's no point if you're great at what you do what you say, you've got great values, you've got great ideas, but you actually tell no one. It's a bit like Telstra. Fantastic cables, fantastic reception. You actually, if you want to have great mobile connection, you wouldn't go anywhere else. So everybody knows that, right? So if everyone knows that, then stop marketing. Don't need to tell anybody anymore because you've got it. Same with your brand. No point if you are great, but you don't tell anyone. LinkedIn is like your marketing campaign. You need to be on it so that people can see who you are. What's a component of a great leadership brand? So that's what your leaders look like as they're representing your organisation. They're consistent across your leadership team, or across, ideally, in an ideal world, that everybody's consistent. So if you think about the Telstra logo, it's consistent across all your mediums. On LinkedIn, ideally that would happen as well. That you would use visual banners. So the banner, I'm going to show you in a minute, but the banners across on top of your LinkedIn profile, that's like advertising space, like billboard space, right? Half the time it's left blank. So imagine if we just had all this space with no marketing on it, right? You need to post, and you need to be regular about that, and using amplification tools. So we use a tool called Influencer Hub, which actually helps us amplify out using what we call micro-influencers. And finally, it's no point just posting content for the sake of content. Content needs to be worthwhile, needs to be interesting, and of course needs to be authentic. Okay. So what I actually did is I had a look at your executive team, and at the risk of never being asked to come back, I thought I'd have a go. Nothing like being controversial. I don't ever wear beige. So 100% of you had 100% of the leadership team had photos. They were inconsistent, but they were all professional. So that was good. 18% had no mention at all of Telstra in the logo or in their title at all. Not too bad. 91% had no company banner. And 55% had no content at all. And I can't believe that at executive level, like you're talking your C-suite here, that 55% of them have nothing to say about Telstra. Nothing. Nothing about the HR policies, nothing about your products, nothing about, nothing, got nothing to say. I've never been in that situation. And 82% didn't claim the URL, which is, by the way. Okay, so Andrew, sorry. Nice banner, that's fine, nice picture. That's pretty much all it says, right, on his LinkedIn profile. Alex and Joe Pollard, bong, right? So empty, oh no, I hope they're not here. Empty space there, right? So really, if you drove past a billboard across the, Baltic Bridge or whatever and it was blank, we'd all be going, how do I get that space? So empty. Nothing, don't know anything about either of these individuals, don't know amazing backgrounds, don't know what's important to them, don't know why I'd be inspired by them, don't know anything. Alex is, though, sharing lots of content, which is great, but actually not saying anything about it. So not giving her own opinion, not boosting it, not just sharing it. So again, if you're out there sharing, that's step one, but that's putting your toe in the water. If you actually want to get in it, say something about it. Step into it. Third part is write your own. Warwick Bray, nothing. That was it. That was it for Warwick. Now, I want you to compare Stephen Eller. So I'm picking on IT, or technology and IT, because I know across the board, we don't recruit in IT, but every client I speak to talks about how difficult it is to get amazing IT people, right? So think about talent attraction. Think about great people wanting to come to an organisation. Let's compare Stephen, who has worked at Telstra and then worked at McMaster's before that in engineering or something like that, if you read it quickly. I want you to compare this to Ken Cousins, right? So immediately, solutions delivering a smarter future. You're automatically a little bit more interested. They tell you about CUB, and then he tells you about the number of firsts that he's done for his organisation, that he's worked in, in multiple countries around the world, and what he's learnt. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but he tells you something about him. It's more interesting already. You're more likely to read through, and then it goes through to all his, all his jobs. Right. So 7 seconds. Your perception of him, your perception of him. If you're a talented IT person without any knowledge, where would you apply first? Right? Ken. We write that, by the way, so I have to show it off. But it's important. It's a really, really important thing to do. Okay, so profile in the real world. It's how you look, it's how you present yourself. And we did the story there of turning up in two different lots of clothes. I am going to say we are harder on women than we are on men. It is not right, it is not fair, it is totally ridiculous, but it is what it is. So if you choose not to agree with it, or that's fine, but be aware that we do it. By nature we do it, so we need to own that. It's what you say and what you do. So I gave you the example of, if you turn up to a barbecue, just be really careful what you're saying, be careful about what you post, be careful about your privacy settings, because once it gets out there, it is out there and you don't know who's sharing. And remember, on all social media, they own your data, so they can change your privacy settings anytime, or actually just ignore them. They can just do what they want with them. So just be really careful about what content you put on there. It's your values and what you stand for. So if anybody goes to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that there's a lot there about the Hunger Project, right? So automatically you're going to get a sense of not only what I've done and where I've worked and what's important to me, but about the Hunger Project. Now out of that, you're going to create another lot of assumptions around me, or judgments, whether they're positive or negative, it doesn't really matter. But it's about putting out there who you are. And the thing is, I put that because the Hunger Project is very important to me. So if you're someone that's not important, or you're anti the Hunger Project for some reason, maybe we're not going to be the best people to be working together in the future. But I put it out there because I want to work with people that know who I am. It's who you associate with. So, you know, they always say that you're judged by the people that you're around, both in the way you know, in the real world, but also in the offline world. So with your connections, don't just connect with anyone, right? You don't have to connect with anyone. It's a professional networking site. Connect with people that you can add value to, and they can add value to you. And I never connect with someone that doesn't romance me a little bit first. You put connect with me and I get the standard line, I just ignore you. I won't mark you as spam, I think that's rude, but I will not acknowledge you at all, right? I want to know who you are before I connect with you, because my network is very, very precious to me, and it's very valuable. So no one's getting in unless they can prove that they've got something to add to me, or I believe I've got something to add to them. And it's where and it's how you turn up. Now, I just want to ask a question. If there was a situation where there was an urgent deadline that had to be met, but at the same time you had an event that you wanted to go to, so it was a luncheon, and you said that you would go a month ago, but then this deadline happened. How many of you would still go to the event? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people would go to the event and everybody else would stay in the office and finish the deadline. Is that what we're... Yep? 6, okay. So what message do you think that sends to the people that have 7?
Can we change the premise?
No.
Can I come in early and work on the deadline so that I can go to lunch?
Yep, you can do it. All I said is, you had a deadline and you had lunch. How many of you would cancel lunch to do the deadline? 7 people said that they would go to lunch. Everybody else? Oh, sorry. Who's going to lunch and who's staying? Lunch. All right. So there are a few more. 20 people are going to lunch, and the rest of you are fantastic employees, and you're working away, right? What does that say to the people at the lunch? You don't care. You're disorganised. You're a micromanager because you can't delegate to anyone. You're a bad manager because you haven't got any succession planning underneath you. Right? And you don't value the relationship that we have. So you've got to be really careful, because we all think, we've been brought up thinking that's the right thing to do. And I'm going to be a bit sexist here too. Women particularly. Women complain all the time. I'm sitting here working and bloody Bob, he's gone off to lunch. Well, Bob's probably come back from lunch and then worked till 10:30 at night. But no one sees that, right? And who said that Bob's doing the wrong thing? I think Bob's doing the right thing, because he's nurturing his relationships for the future. So it's very, very important to turn up, and when you do turn up, even if you've got that deadline, you be cool about it. I'm coming in, I can only stay till 3:30 because I've got something to do, but it's so important, I want to see you and I want to hear this speaker. Then you leave. But you don't rush and go, oh, I'm late, I'm stressed, and I have to rush out soon. Don't do that. Just cool. Okay, let's dispel some of the myths that are out there, both with respect to online and offline. The boys' club. What is the boys' club? We all talk about the boys' club. The boys' club is this evil thing where all boys that are the same get together and they do secret squirrel handshakes and they give each other jobs and they exclude everybody else. I don't believe that at all. I think there's some people like that, but I think there's some women like that too, right? I think the boys' club is the fact that men have turned up and they help each other out. They turn up when the deadline's on, versus the woman who generally is at home, or not at home, you know, at work. So think about the boys' club as being somewhere where you go and you help each other. And I think men are very, very good at this. Very good at this. They will sponsor each other, and men sponsor women too, right? They sponsor each other, they forgive each other, they give each other a go. And I think it's a really important thing to do. And when you're not part of the boys' club, sometimes it's not because the boys don't want you, it's because you never turned up in the first place. You never asked to be part. I don't have that problem. I go in and I ask, what's going on here? And I'm always, what's going on? What are you talking about? And people talk to me. What about the women's networks? Oh my goodness, I always think if there's as many men's networks as women's networks, we would be in really big trouble, right? So we have business chicks, we have like-minded bitches, we have women executive chiefs, we have Ruby Connection, we have all these women's groups, which are fantastic. And they're a great thing. But I want to ask a question of the women here. How many times, we've got all these big, organisations sponsoring and championing women. I want you to ask yourself the last time you actually yourself sponsored a woman into an opportunity. We as women can be very kind, right? And we're very generous. So we're the ones that will do the pick up for the kids and take someone's soup and babysit somebody's child if they're sick and all that sort of stuff. But we're not always the ones that will take a risk professionally and sponsor another female in. So this is a hypothesis. It hasn't been, I should talk to a university and get it researched, but here's my hypothesis. That men give men and women, they give others a go. So what they'll say is something like this, and I'm not a man, but I'll make it up, right? I got this mate, or a mate of a mate, or blah, 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 Bob. I think he'd be all right, not 100% sure. Take his number, over to you guys. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, mate, didn't work out, can't use you again, do you still want to play golf on Sunday? Something like that, right? Women, this is my hypothesis. I love you as my friend. You're very important to me. And I value our relationship more than I value business. So, if I sponsor you in and you muck it up, I might have to tell you that you mucked it up. And then I might not be able to be your friend anymore. So therefore, I'd rather not take the risk that you go in and you muck it up and I have to tell you, because I could not bear not to be your friend anymore. So a couple of assumptions there. Number one, who's to say she's going to muck it up in the first place? Heaven forbid she actually be quite good at the job, and it'd be fantastic for both her and the organisation. Number two, you don't have to sell someone in or sponsor someone in by saying they are amazing, they're the best person I've ever met, and you'll never go wrong. You can just say, I know this person, haven't worked with her directly before, or I worked with her 2 years ago, don't know if she's changed, I thought she was good then, what do you think? And the third thing, even if it does go pear-shaped, you don't have to not be their friend anymore. You liked them before when you were just friends without working together, so why can't you just like them again afterwards? But they don't change complete human being just because they mucked up, in a pitch or in a role or doing a job. So, and look, and I've got to say, I get sponsored quite a bit. I've been sponsored in today by Sarah Mudford. So I want to say that she's, a woman that does sponsoring other women. But for a lot of my time, I get sponsored in by men, right? Because men are in the habit of doing it. Women, we are not in the habit of doing it. So to all the women out there, I want to put a challenge to you. Over the next month, I want you to sponsor a woman into a business opportunity if you can, right? So it's if a recruiter rings you and says, do you want this job? And you say no because I love where I'm working. You say, but you pass it on to someone else. If it's a speaking event, if it's a promotion, if it's anything, sponsor a woman yourself and take a punt. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. If we want to be equal as women, we've got to do what men do, and men support each other. And what about the poor people that aren't in any club? So they're not in the boys' club, and they're not in the women's club. They're in no club at all. And I'm seeing, I'll be honest, far more men being part of this group, right? So the world is changing for men, and I said I'm coaching a couple of senior men at the moment, and I've got a husband as well. And a lot of men now are finding it very difficult in this workplace. And the reason why is because things are changing so much. From a family perspective, I'm seeing that men are being, have got the same issues that mothers have, so fathers and mothers, because men are being far more active in the parenting role. So I'm seeing men saying that they want 4 days a week or need flexible hours, or, or got to stay home when the kids are sick. And what I'm hearing is that they're having some of the issues that women have with respect to people thinking that they're not taking their work seriously. Right? I'm hearing about men who are dropping their kids off at the, at school and having people, other people not being so welcoming to them. So I'm seeing a lot of men going through stuff, I guess. As a recruiter, I also speak to lots of men and women through their job search journey, and it's a very interesting thing. So when someone gets made redundant, for example, it's very emotional, whether you're a male or female, because it is talking about you're no longer required in this organisation, and there's a whole lot of impact financially and emotionally. But what I see with women is that even if they're the primary breadwinner, they generally have a husband at home, not always, generally have a husband at home that it's okay for a little bit. You get a payout, but the other partner is working. When a man, and this is not always, I'm talking generally, a lot of times when a man is made redundant, there's a lot more pressure, because oftentimes the woman at home, his wife at home, has not got a full-time job, or if she has, isn't earning at the capacity that he's earning. So it's not as easily replaced. So there's a lot of pressure on men. I also find that when a woman decides that she wants to take a career break, she wants to go sideways, she wants to go part-time, she wants to go down a level, whatever it may be, generally and interestingly, employers are much more open to that. It's like, oh, she wants a break, she's going to have more time with the kids, she's going to do... They're much, much more open. When a man comes and does that, it's, he's not so serious about his job. And I find it very strange. I find it quite horrible actually for the individual, because quite often I am speaking to men going through these situations, they're going, I'm stuck. And it means that for men, they're more often in jobs that they don't love because they're too scared to take the risk, whereas women tend to take more risks. And I'm just talking very generally, and I know people might be agreeing or disagreeing, but it's my observation over 17 years of recruitment. So what I want to say about that, if you're not in the women's club and you're not in the men's club and you're in this space on your own there, it is even more critical that you get your profile out there and that you network better and that your LinkedIn profile is up to date, because we do change quickly. We're changing jobs every sort of 2.5 years. People have got 17 odd careers in their lifetime. We are moving quickly. So if your profile is not up there and it's not working for you, and you don't have a boys club and you don't have a women's club, you need to do it on your own. Don't wait. Now, I'm finding that both genders are waiting here, and it's mainly women and then sort of Gen X men. Women, we've been brought up to wait. We wait to be asked on a date, we wait to be asked to be married, and we wait for a promotion. So let's stop waiting. Let's put ourselves forward and ask. For the guys in the room, I'm seeing more and more again, people that are in my, that I know personally and I see, and people that I'm coaching, I can see that men, especially in the Gen X, are doing the right thing. You turn up, you do the right thing, you're loyal to your boss, especially if you've got a great boss. He or she's saying to you, hold fire, it will come, it will be fine. And I trust all of that. But also, you need to be confident to ask. And I don't mean ask in a demanding, sort of stamp your foot entitlement way. I mean put your business case up about why you deserve that promotion or that extra opportunity. Yeah? You've got to put yourself forward. Confidence. Confidence is the key to success for us all. And there's lots of things that help us be more confident. For some of us it's qualifications, for some of us it's experience, for some of it, it's how what you're wearing. If you're wearing something that's uncomfortable, you don't feel as good as if you're wearing a nice new dress. Well, for women anyway. But the most important thing is self-belief. Right? Without self-belief, it's very difficult to be successful. And even if you are successful, you don't believe that you're successful. I coach a lot of people, as I say, and we question the self-belief. And I get told things like, I can't do it because I'm too old. I can't do it because I don't have this qualification. I can't do it because I'm a woman. Or I was never supported when I was a child. And I call BS on all of that. So I am 50 years old. So officially in the older worker category in Australia, which is 45. So I'm now an older worker in Australia. I'm a woman. So we know all the disadvantages that women have in the workplace. You know, we're paid less, we have less super, we're promoted less. I'm Asian. So ASX 200, 77% of CEOs are Anglo-Celtic, they say. 18% are European, and less than 5% are non-European. Less than 5% are women. And then with Asians, the Chinese or firstborn Chinese population in Australia is 9.6%, and less than 1.9% are in executive roles in Australian companies. Right? So me as a woman, an Asian, I'm out, right? Then you're going to add short. So it's been proven that people that are taller are seen to be better leaders because they're more dominant and they're stronger. So I'm short, that's a problem. And there is now a thing called lookism. So are you good looking or not? And good looking in Western culture is tall, blonde, which I am neither of those things. Although I do think I'm beautiful because my 3 boys tell me every day. So if you think about all those disadvantages I've got, I have no right to be standing here telling you what I think. No right at all. But I call BS on that. Because what I have is self-belief. Founded or unfounded, doesn't really matter. I have it, and I'm standing here. So I want anyone that has ever said, and we all have said it, and I say it to myself as well, but when you say to yourself, I can't because I'm a woman, I'm too old, I'm Asian, I don't have an education, I wasn't born here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the other thing I want to say, that's a supportive family giving you confidence, right? I have great parents, but being Chinese, when I didn't get into being a doctor or a lawyer at university, guess what? And being a girl, there was no hope for me, so I had to get a job in government or find a good husband. That were my 2 options, right? So really, you know, I've got parents at home having no hope, plus I've got all these other disadvantages. I really don't deserve to be here at all. So when you're thinking a bit sad about yourself, think of me and boost yourself up. Okay, and what happens when you're confident? You are happy, you're upbeat, you can do stuff, right? You're positive. You have better relationships because, you know, when you're happier, you tend to be happier around people and you tend to make them happy and then they want to make you happy. You're motivated, you're ambitious, you're not scared to step out and do something different. You laugh more often and you do laugh louder when you're confident. You're open to taking risks, you're open to falling down. You know, you never succeed if you play it safe. You need to fall down, then you need to get yourself back up again. Confident people recognise their own successes, so they're good at going, well done to me, but they're also confident enough to say, well done to you. People that are not confident are the ones that never congratulate anyone else. People that are confident are the ones that are so happy to share your win because they know that they're already good, so they don't have to take your stuff as well because they've got their own stuff. They accept the gift of feedback. All feedback is a gift. Whether you want to take it or re-gift that gift is up to you, but it is all a gift. And finally, they think for themselves. Now, if you think then about your own futures and your own careers, who do you want to work with and who do you think people want to work with? Do you think they want to work with a confident person that's all that, or Mr. or Mrs. Grumpy that's doubting themselves all the time? And if you haven't got all that, fake it until you make it. Pick something and do it. Has everybody heard of Amy Cuddy's power pose? Right? Power pose. Think Batman. So when you win, like run over a line or something, you go like this. Batman, Supergirl, like this. I did it in the toilet before, right? 2 minutes, it's proven. 2 minutes, if you stand like this and you breathe, physiologically you become more confident. So big presentation, job interview, I don't know, asking for a pay rise, asking somebody out on a date, doesn't matter what it is, power pose. Trust me, you will feel better. It does, when you're doing the deep breathing in a toilet, sometimes not quite right, but, you know, stand up, be brave, and you do fake it, and then as you get positive reinforcement, you do it again, you get more positive reinforcement, you do it again, and you will make it if you start to fake it. Karma. I believe in the concept of karma. I believe that when you do the right thing, right things happen. But it has to be the right things with the right intent. It's not about giving somebody $20 on the way to work because you've seen that, you know, they're homeless, and then saying, righto, where's my job? Right? And we know people that think like that. And sometimes maybe we do think like that, that we do these little things and we get something in return. Karma is about doing the right thing for no other reason except for the fact it is the right thing. Now, in work, what that means is when you're in a job, you do the right thing by your organisation, by your team, for your boss, for your customer, because it's the right thing to do. Not because it looks good, not because you're looking for that next promotion, not because you're bartering for something. Right? I met Lindsay Maxted, and Lindsay Maxted is the chairman of Westpac, and I asked him the question, how did you get there? And he's an extremely humble, unassuming man. Like, you know, if you walked in a room, you wouldn't look twice at him, really, right? Very, very unassuming, and, you know, touted to be one of the most influential men in Australia. And I asked him, how did you get to where you got to? And he said, for most of the time, I was just head down and just did a good job. He said, I never really planned my career that much. I did good work. I did the right things by my employees, by my manager, by my organisation, and by my staff. And opportunities came, and I took those opportunities. I always said yes, and I always did the right thing. That's karma. Do the right thing because it's the right thing for others, and opportunities definitely will come to you. Everyone likes to be liked, right? No one doesn't like to be liked. The difference is, do you need to be liked? So I annoy myself at least 25% of the time, right? I eat the donut when I'm going on a diet. I buy the shoes when I'm on a budget. I yell at someone I shouldn't have yelled at because I'm just having a bad day and I feel mean afterwards, right? I do stupid things that frustrate me and I annoy myself. So I now live by this theory. 1/3 of people are in my tribe. They love me and I love them. We've got the same values, we've got the same sense of humour, we get along, we just love each other. 1/3 of people, we're friends. We're okay, but we're not 100% aligned, right? And 1/3 of people don't like me. And you know the reality is, I don't like them either, right? So don't try to change to make the people that don't like you. Because the minute you do that, the people that did love you will go, oh, now she's a bit quiet, now she's a bit boring. Why has she changed her opinion on that? Why has she flip-flopped? Be who you are. Own who you are, love who you are, and accept that people are not always going to love you. I know every time I stand up and do one of these presentations, and you get the surveys later and you go, how many loves I got to get? There are times when people have said, don't like her, didn't like what she said, didn't like her opinion, and that hurts, but then I go, that's okay, that person's just never going to come again. But what about all these other people that really did like what I say? And I think that's the thing. Focus on the people that like what you say, and the ones that don't like what you say, understand. So I'm not saying dismiss, because sometimes there's learnings there. So take it, but take it to learn from, not take it to hurt yourself. It's a very different way of taking feedback. The other myth, I don't need a profile. I hope that I don't have to go over this too much. You need a profile, right? We are in a world where we're changing jobs every 1.5 to 2.5 years. We've got organisations structuring and restructuring again. We've got people moving. We've got line managers that are so busy that can't be promoting you and looking after your career. You need to look after your own career, okay? And without a profile, without your Google equivalent of your Google review, people won't find you. Okay, the do's and don'ts of your brand. 1, accept that your brand and online presence is important. So that's the first thing. 2, be consistent online and offline. All right, so if you're, so whatever you do online, do offline as well. You can't be all professional online and then slop around in your UGG boots offline, right? So you've got to be consistent around that. Be confident and share your opinions. And as I said, romance the people that you want to connect with, right? So if you're wanting to connect with people, it is an interactive site, right? So send them the message. I would like to connect with you. I saw that we've got some connections together, or I'm really interested about what you said about the Hunger Project. I'd like to find out more. Think about if you were at a bar and you wanted to get somebody's phone number. You don't just walk up and go, give me a number, right? You romance them a little bit. Hi, my name's Chris. How are you? Love your dress. Would you like a drink? Chat. Now I can have your number. Right? Much more success rate if you do that. So romance and nurture. And what I want to say is your network is like a garden. You've got to nurture it, you've got to care for it, you've got to water it. So make sure that you're doing that. Don't forget that you're being judged by your connections and your networks. I believe in a thing called social weeding, both online and offline. There are people in our networks that should no longer be there. Again, online and offline. Your networks are there so that you can add value to them and they can add value to you. If you're not doing that, out. Go. Disconnect them. They won't even notice anyway. And don't be offended if you're disconnected as well, because you're not adding value, right? And that's what it should be. Don't wait to lose 5 kilos before you had your photo done. So here's a true story. I was working with the CEO of a publicly listed business organisation, and she had been on the front of the Fin Review a couple of times. Not on the front, but in the Fin Review a couple of times. And I said to her, we need to fix your profile now. You know, like people are looking at you, and we could see all the people that are looking at her. And she said, no, not until I lose 5 kilos. I said, you're the CEO of a publicly listed company. You've got to have your photo on your LinkedIn profile. She said, I'm not doing it until I lose 5. And I said, if every person that had to lose 5 kilos didn't have their photo taken, there'd be no photos on LinkedIn, right? So you've got to do it. She said, I will not do it. So that's a very personal stance, but do not let your vanity get in the way of your profile. And if it means so much to you to lose that 5 kilos, then lose the 5 kilos. Right? Don't talk about losing the 5 kilos, just actually do it, and then you have your photo done, and then, you know, be strong and represent yourself and your organisation in the right way. Don't be afraid to show your personality. And look, remember, LinkedIn is a professional site, so it's not about showing all your personal stuff. I do, actually, not all my personal stuff, but because of the way I am and I run my business, so sometimes my children teach me something every day. So quite often I'll write a blog about, you know, what my children have taught me, and it becomes a leadership learning, and I'll put that up. That's not for everybody, but I do that. But either way, show what you think and feel. And don't forget your privacy settings. So I'm going to tell you a pretty horrific story, actually. So there was a woman that I was coaching, and sales director reporting into the CEO, and he brought me in because he said she's going to be the next MD. She's amazing, but she's lacking a bit of confidence, Chris. So I want her to get a bit of, you know, your confidence. I want you to come in and coach her. Did that, was going fabulously well. She then went on holidays, which we're all allowed to do. But unbeknownst to anybody, she loves motorbikes. And has anybody seen Sons of Anarchy? Yeah. Yep. So she was a biker girl. And she looked great, right? So she had mini skirts, she had tats, she had all these sort of things. She looked fantastic. What she did though, is she put that on her Instagram. So within 24 hours, I got that from the CEO coming back to me, and his words were, what do I do with this? Because what is he supposed to do about sponsoring her to be the next MD? How can he sell that into the board? Now the reality is, I think we are harsher on women, but same for a man. If a man was there with, I don't know what bikie men wear, but if they had, things hanging out, places and really tight jeans and tattoos, they probably wouldn't get the MD job either, right? But somehow that's the example I've got, but we are harsh on women. So be really careful about your privacy settings. Be very careful about what you post and what you say, because it can affect, and again, it is not right to judge her. Like, that does not change her skills, does not change her competence, does not change anything about her, except for people's perception of her. Wrong, but it happened. Okay, so your LinkedIn profile, it is your shiny brochure. So you think about selling a house, you have the shiny brochure that tells you about the coffee shop nearby and the big parks and all that beautiful stuff and the rooms that look like this, but actually they're like this, right? And then you've got the architectural drawings. So your LinkedIn profile is the shiny brochure that tells the story about how amazing you and your organisation is. It's there so that you can be seen. It is your own personal website. It's there to share your story, not just dot points and facts, but create the emotional connection. At Telstra, we don't put cables in the ground, we connect people for meaningful relationships. So whether you're in procurement, sales, marketing, you don't sell stuff, you don't buy stuff, you don't market stuff, you create emotional connections, right? So tell the story about what you do. Amplify, take control of your brand. It's not stagnant, right? So don't think that you can put your LinkedIn profile, you update it once and then you leave it. It's not like that. It's a thing that you have to nurture and continue to update. Amplify you and amplify your team, and be authentic. And remember, first impressions matter. That's it.